I'm Jack Robinson from SuperYacht Technology News, and we're here today with Derek Monroe, the owner's representative for Sailing Yacht Black Pearl. And we're doing one of our Talking Tech features, spending the afternoon here on Sailing Yacht Black Pearl looking at some of the unique technology on board.
With the control system we have on board, which is very similar to the old Maltese Falcon system, we've modified it, upgraded it, made it 12 years newer, and we've changed the rotation system for the motors on the shafts, on the rigs, sorry. So the rigs on our boat rotate twice as fast as Maltese Falcon did. It means that we can tack a lot easier, much quicker. We get through our tacks and we usually don't drop below 4.5 knots doing a tack, which for a boat this size is pretty awesome. Our handling is, we point a little bit higher than Maltese Falcon did. Obviously downwind our performance is better. We still point at the same angles of sail, but our downward speed is better. We have a full length keel underneath fixed and a very deep daggerboard kind of rudder. So we turn incredibly well. And all of this was designed with by Dijkstra, the guys in Amsterdam, who did a phenomenal job. Our hull is clean, spotlessly clean. There's no protrusions on the hull whatsoever, which was their recommendation and their request, that we kept it clean just for speed. And hence, we've done 22 knots on our first sea trial. So a very different boat to Maltese. On our rigs, we have a 1 degree aft rake, which is installed so that at the top of the rig we're a good few meters different to what it was on Maltese Falcon, and this is one of the things that gives us our sail performance and our speed, and especially our upwind performance.
We actually used a company called Sam Mozilla, and they actually came up with a system to actually integrate a rotating rig, and by putting a gyro into the actual radar itself up the rig, and then being able to monitor obviously a gyro of your heading, and then a special integration system to keep the heading marker actually on the 4.5 line when we're trimming the rigs under sails. So it's actually really clever, and it actually surprisingly works seamlessly, because we're not integrating just one radar, we're integrating 2 radars. We've got one on the mizzen and one on the fore, and it's all coming into one central point, so that's and displaying on one screen. Let's go have a look at the sailing console and see how that works. We've got 5 screens. We've got 4 on this console and then 1 on the starboard console. We've got that one for racing. So the setup as we have it at the moment is we've got 3 navigation screens and 1 sailing console screen here. This one we can have full control of the sails and the rotations of the rig. This panel here rotates the rigs and trimming and easing. Also with this touchscreen you can set and strike all the sails, which is fantastic to be able to have full functionality standing up here on the flybridge. You can sail this boat, it's best sailed with someone on the helm and then someone on trimming, but if you were not sailing, you're cruising along and you're on autopilot, then you can do your rig trimming on your own and be happy just sailing it by yourself. Yeah, the whole package was developed on the navigation side by Sam, as I mentioned before, and then the sailing system itself was designed by a company called Caccini, who we worked with before on Maltese Falcons. So that was nice to bring the familiarity with the systems and how it works and back again. We've got FLIR cameras, another company, Marine Guard, we're involved with providing cameras, security cameras, and so they're actually pretty good. We've got a couple of those on the rigs. You can see these up here on the end of the yard tips, and 2 on there, and then 1 on the mizzen as well.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
So Derek, tell us, where are we going next?
I think we'll wander down to the aft section of the upper deck, show you the jacuzzi. So 12-person jacuzzi on the aft deck with seating area for the client and his family. There'll be a seating at the table for 16. We have sofas, lounging, loose furniture and everything, so this area will be very, very comfortable. I expect this will be one of the most used areas of the boat, especially with the regeneration and the power system we have on board. There'll be no noise anyway, because we won't need generators when we're at anchor, but when you're up here it's just so much quieter.
Derek, I know you personally requested some changes to the setup of the communication system. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so initially in the approved GA, the things like the satellite domes were on top of the structure on the side of the flybridge here. Once we got all the teams together, Sam and Magma and VBH and everyone involved in all the communications on the boat, we sat down in a big room one day and I basically said to them, I don't want to see any clutter on the upper deck, and nor did the client, so let's put it all up the rig. So we spent a lot of time, in fact that was probably one of the most time consuming parts of the initial phase of the project, because of all the cabling required, because of the limited space inside each yard to run the cables through, because of how you manage the cables at the bottom of the mast, because obviously the mast rotates, so the cables have to be able to withstand a great number of rotations. So things, and the space is such that all the equipment up the mast has fibre optics running down to junction boards just above the lower deck where it comes out, and then it comes out of the mast into the junction boxes, from the junction boxes into, depending on what it is, into an LMR 400 multi-flex cable, which is designed for repetition, and then into the cable management system, and then out to another distribution board, and then fibre optics to wherever it's going.
Right, let's walk through now. Where are we off to?
Go down and have a quick look in the wheelhouse and maybe a chat to the captain and the chief officer.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Jack. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah. And
Hi Jack,
Justin, nice to meet you. So AJ, if you could tell us a bit about the sailing setup here.
Yeah, this is where we can control our sails, our sets and furls, and also the rotation of the 3 rigs themselves. We have a complete system in the bridge itself, and then we can do the same from the flybridge, which is a fantastic station to be sailing from. Extremely simple with the actual operation of the Dynarig system. Which is very much push button. The actual maintenance side and the development of the sail system itself is quite complicated, but the actual sailing is so simple, which I think is one of the real benefits of this system.
We're here at the base of the mast. The tube itself is 30 tons of carbon, the weight of the rig, which is pretty impressive. All down onto this, seated on this rotational unit down the bottom, and that's a cog system driven by 4 electric motors. This is what's different between Maltese Falcon and this boat. Maltese was hydraulic, and what's also unique about using this electric system is that we can use our power management system to drive it independently as well. We've also got cable organizing chain here, so as the rig rotates, all the cables that go up to power the winches, the mandrel motors, all the sensors, or the lights, obviously it has to be organized in a way where we can actually rotate this rig in a 180 direction to starboard, and we can also go a 270 rotation round to port. This is so that we can land the helicopter on the foredeck and have the rig completely in reverse, to allow maximum space on the foredeck. As you see, you can see the cables up the top here and how they're organized and managed through individual guides, and that is a system that works back on itself to then keep everything in a line. So you can see here as we're rotating the mast around, one side of the chain is unraveling and the other side of the cable organizer is winding in. So here we go, we're rotating around to starboard. This is our normal sort of motoring formation. We have all the rigs forward and aft, just for being a bit more streamlined. Also looks quite cool when we call it the helix, so we do one way and then oppose the main mast and then oppose the mizzen mast. So now we're going to go into helicopter operations mode. So this is what I was speaking about before. This is a unique function on this rig, whereby we actually managed to rotate the rig completely another 180 from where it is now. Because as you can see on the front of the mast, you've got a lot of equipment, and we want to maximise the space on the foredeck for the chopper.
Did I understand the railings come down as well? Or?
Yeah, we remove all the railings out the bulwarks, and some of the front ones fold down, and the flagstaff at the front also folds down. So actually, when we did a crossing from Palma just recently, when we got here, we had the Palma Coast Guard come and actually practice a drill with us. So they hovered up over the foredeck here, and they sent a man down on a wire, and we actually conducted a full stretcher evacuation practice. So we can actually say we've done it. So that was really cool day.
So we're here now with Dave Price, who's the ETO on board Sailing Yacht Black Pearl, and we're going to have a look into the rack room, which is actually one of the smallest I've ever seen, proportional to the size of the vessel, so it's quite interesting.
Compact.
Compact is the word.
It's a bit noisy, got the fan coils running. It's got everything you need, but it is a bit small. We've got all the TVRO antenna tracking system here, with GSM voice and Wi-Fi and 4G units, communications. The VSAT is all right here. That's probably the most important thing on the boat, I'd say. Internet, keeping that active. And then the rest of it is audio-visual. You've got all the IT communications for Cisco and networking.
Is the VSAT something that you can relatively well self-manage?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, yeah, unless there is an issue somewhere else, but yeah, that's a core skill that you've got to keep an eye on.
And do you use like pure VSAT, or are you using a 4G kind of bonded solution when you're closer to the coast at all?
Yeah, no, we've got a 4G unit here with SIM cards in it, so that's one of the sources of internet at the moment, coming into the firewall system here. We're on shore internet at the moment.
Yeah.
So the VSAT's actually been switched off for the period we're here.
Dave, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks for showing us around.
Yeah, this is where it all happens down here. It's quite interesting, this boat. We have quite a few different modes of propulsion. We have thrusters, we have direct diesel propulsion, we have direct electric, or a combination of both, plus we sail. And one of the cool things about sailing is we can unfeather the shafts, and we have the ability to regenerate and power the entire vessel just by turning the props using the shaft alternator, which is pretty cool. We also have a battery bank on board, so we can shut down all generators and power the vessel from the battery bank. So that does give us the option of leaving the dock with no engines running. And
you're running some MTU engines here?
MTU engines, yes, two of them, two main MTUs, and Scania generators. It's part of our heat recovery system. So with the generators and one of the main engines, we recover that heat, and we can use it for heating the swimming pool, the jacuzzi, heating the hot water for showering on the boat, and also for heating the vessel.
Derek's going to maybe got a couple of last things that we might have missed that you want to tell us about.
It's good that you met everyone and had a chat to them about all the different parts of the boat, the ETO, the rigger, and the second officer, and the chief officer, and the captain, and the engineer. And we're obviously excited to spread the news and try and get regeneration and battery use back out there more in the big boat scene. The bit that we haven't spoken about so far is our energy management system. So we have a standard power management system, which is fairly normal on most boats, but we have a bespoke energy management system, which means that with the press of one of three buttons, we can either, we have crew mode, client and guests, and just the client, which is normally the client and his PA. And by selecting that button, we shut down multiple parts of the boat, reducing the power consumption. Obviously, when it's crew mode, we shut down a load of stuff. When it's client and guests, nothing shuts down. But by doing that, it means we can run longer on our batteries or our regeneration, depending on what we're doing at the time. So, all this technology, hopefully, it's obviously a lot more better for a sailboat because they can regenerate easier using the sails and the shafts. But it's stuff that I think in the future more and more people should look at.
One last thing that I just wanted to cover off. I know we've been running now SuperYacht Technology News for 2 years. Hopefully a useful tool to an owner's representative like yourself.
Yeah. I had a look at your last magazine on the app on the phone, and it's great because I go to the airport. I travel every week, so it's nice to be able to stick it on the phone, sit down on the plane and read something for 20-30 minutes, kill a bit of time, and see what everyone else is doing out there to try and catch up with us.
Derek, thanks so much.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Good to see you.